Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Blue Stable Podcast episode. I am Marcus. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. It is December 31st. We are heading into the New Year's. So if you're watching this after today, Happy New Year's. Hope you guys are going into the New Year's with a resolution, a clean mindset, positivity, and just a new vibe. You know, they say new year, new me. Let's see what you got. Go ahead and comment your thoughts as well. Also, we're going to wish a happy birthday to Latu Latu. Today is his birthday as well, so wish him a happy birthday. And we're gonna wish my co-host Landon a happy anniversary. Today's his anniversary today, so I want to give him a huge shout out. Landon, how are we doing today?
Doing great, man. I appreciate it. It's me and my wife. It's 8 years today, and we'll be going out to dinner here in just a little bit. But of course, wanted to hop on with you, start the new year off right, talking about what went wrong.
Yeah, I had to give off all the positive vibes first before we get into the message, man. We got to start off with the good and end with the bad. But of course, we are here to discuss the Indianapolis Colts taking on the New York Giants, which just transpired. The Colts headed up to New York and wound up losing a game which was pretty much winnable and pretty much sealed their fate in the rest of the season. The Colts wound up losing this game 33-45. I think this is the most points the Giants has put up all year, which is just flat out
I
embarrassing.
think it's the most points they've put up in the last few since like 2019 or something like that. So, yeah,
That's just insane. It was an insane game to watch, very heartbreaking as well, especially as Colts fans. If you guys watch most of these pods and things like that, this was a game that they had circled, and they wound up losing this game. How? Well, Landon knows I like to call it the cardiac Colts. What can go wrong will go wrong. But it was just an unfortunate turn of events. But of course, we can go ahead and just hop into this discussion. I'm pretty sure Landon was waiting for this all week. He pretty much laughed during the whole game. I'm pretty sure I could hear him laughing all the way from the East Coast. So we can go ahead and start off with the topic of the discussion. Well, not the real topic, but Anthony Richardson was out this game. He was not playing, and Joe Flacco was named the starter going into this week. Now, of course, this was during the Christmas break. We were all spending time, hanging out, things of that nature. When this news broke, my reaction was pretty much, we're going to lose. But little behold, I don't think Flacco had the worst outing out of everyone if we're going to go into the situation. But let me get your thoughts, Landon, on Joe Flacco's gameplay against the Giants. Of course, it wasn't enough to get the game over with to win. But what was your thoughts of Richardson's injury and Flacco going in?
Well, I mean, getting to the injury part, I mean, this is just becoming more the norm, right, for Anthony Richardson at this point. This is, now in year two, there's been multiple injuries. Obviously, last year, the big one, but even this year, this is already the second injury that's knocked him out for multiple games. Not even counting the benching that happened. So right now, it's hard to envision a future where you can rely on him. I believe he has yet to still play in 5 straight games during a season, which granted, only 2 years in, but if you can't even play more than 5 games without getting hurt, I mean, it's pretty ominous. So Joe Flacco came in, did some decent things. I wouldn't say he played particularly well. Obviously, with the turnovers, I believe the 2 interceptions and the fumble, there were 3 turnovers. That can't happen once again. Turnovers have been a big issue at the quarterback position, regardless of whoever quarterback it is. They continue to turn the ball over at a pretty high rate. That's not going to get it done. That's how you lose games like this, especially when your defense is performing the way they're performing. You give the team the other ball multiple times, that's how you lose games like this. So it wasn't good enough, but end of the day, the offense, mainly Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, Alec Pierce, those guys showed up in big ways. They gave this team, the offense at least, they gave the offense a chance. And it's just it wasn't pretty. So
Yeah, it wasn't at all. I think the opening drive before the interception, it was looking promising. I ain't gonna lie. I think I was probably the only one looking like that before the interception. I was like, oh, okay, Joe. And then he threw the pick. I said, well, there's Joe Flacco. So my hope just went downhill after the opening drive, man. It was rough. But like I said, Jonathan Taylor solely after the whole fumble situation at the goal line, after that, he just switched in an instant and became Jonathan Taylor that we're used to seeing. I feel like he was the only one that wanted to win that game, honestly. We had some big catches from Michael Pittman Jr. and Pierce, those guys, but even Granson caught a huge ball. But other than that, like I said, the offense, they did their best. Glowinski, I prayed for him during that game. He got hit on a double stunt. It was so bad. The offensive line. But other than that, we can talk about the biggest issue, in my opinion. Um, the defense, of course. I feel like this defense is it was an unacceptable performance. And of course, this goes back to even the week before when we were talking about Mason Rudolph pretty much going to rip apart the Colts in the preview. You get a guy like Drew Lock, who's a vet and pretty much knows the in and outs of the game. He just got to be put in the right system, in my opinion, personally. And I think he showed that against the Colts. This is a game that pretty much the Colts was supposed to win. The Colts even have a winning record in New York and between the Giants themselves. They won more games in New York than the Giants. So that says a lot. And they wind up losing this game. The defense, like I said, it couldn't stop a nosebleed. This was probably one of the worst games. I put this even over the Packers game. This game was worse than the Packers game, in my opinion. But what was your thoughts on this defense just getting flat out embarrassed? Even the kick return, I turned the TV off after the kick return. But what was your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just pitiful. It's just pitiful performance, and it's embarrassing. I'm not even going to say surprising though. So, because here's the thing, they've been in this situation multiple times in the last 4 seasons, and once again, in a big moment, they come up short, and that's just what this team does, and that's what I don't understand. Um, why people are so surprised by this result, because they've shown you multiple times who they are. This is who the Colts are. This is who they've been. How many more times does this need to happen before people start, actually realizing this is what this team does in big moments? They fold, regardless of who goes on what podcast and says what, or who goes on this, ESPN interview and says what, or regardless of who calls out who in the locker room in an interview. Like, none of that matters. What matters is the play that's on the field. And at the end of the day, this is what they've done consistently in the last few years. So yeah, I don't. It's not surprising. I expected them. Maybe not this week, but next. I know we've joked in the last month or so that they were going to win out and then they would blow the game in Jacksonville. So the fact that it was just one game earlier than what we expected it to be, that doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, we knew this team would fold, because that is what they do. Whenever all the chips are on the table, they fold.
Yes, it was bad. Drew Lock looking like MVP.
Five
300
touchdowns.
yards, four
Five touchdowns.
touchdowns,
Five.
5 touchdowns. And then, even Tyrone Tracy with that big 40-yard run, he went crazy on that one. And Malik Neighbors solely just destroyed every defender
Yeah,
that went on.
the secondary, which we had preached all off season, could have been an issue whenever it was time for the Colts to win and possibly put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. What was the biggest issue that once again keeps the Colts from the playoffs? The same weakness that we said it was in the offseason. And this is what it's been. This is the Chris Ballard era, whether it's quarterback, whether it's wide receiver, whether it's pass rush, whether it's secondary. There is always a massive weakness in the offseason that we preach about every single year. And we get told in press conferences that we don't know we don't know anything and they like their guys. And at the end of the season, that's usually the position group that keeps them from making the playoffs. And that's what happened this week. Secondary folded. Julian Blackmon, no show. Kenny Moore, probably his worst game of the season. The cornerbacks, absolutely roasted by a rookie. It is what it is. And here we are again, sitting in the exact position I said we would be sitting in 6 months ago.
Yeah, you did, man. And they told you to be quiet on Twitter. But Neighbors had some amazing grabs, very poor tackling. Landon mentions the tackling situation every week, but you guys just don't listen to him. But the tackling this week, I think it was, like I said, the worst game all year. This was god awful. I think I could have got a tackle before anyone else, and it just was falling flat on the grass, and they would just run into the end zone. But even Wan'Dale Robinson, amazing touchdown, man, on the back right corner, that end zone on Kenny Moore. It just looked bad.
Kentucky boy,
I felt
right there,
bad.
Wandale Robinson,
Wan'Dale Robinson, yeah, we wanted him in Indy. But
Kentucky.
yeah, man, that's your guy. It was an
Yeah,
amazing route by him. I low key am a Colts fan. You guys, diehard. Landon knows I root for the Colts, whether we win or lose. But I low key became a Giants fan. I was impressed with how they was playing football. I like, could this be the change that the Giants what? We had people even thinking that this could be the future of the Giants football with Drew Lock as their starting quarterback. That's
no,
how bad
it's
the
not the
game was.
future. That's not the future. And this is like one of the rare games, and I tweeted this out. It's like I don't know who is more angry at the result, whether it's Giants fans or Colts fans.
It
Both
was
are
definitely
pretty,
Giants fans. They were
yeah,
pissed.
both are pretty angry at how things played out, which is kind of hilarious. But um, yeah, it's just it's embarrassing, and it sucks too because I got this nice, really beautiful Colts jacket for Christmas. My aunt got it for me. It's gorgeous. Nice
Does she know?
lining. It's very beautiful. I'm embarrassed to wear that thing out right now. I don't even want to wear the damn thing out in public because it's embarrassing. I almost traded with my mom. My mom's got a Packers. My mom got a Packers one. I got the Colts one. I almost wanted to see if she wanted to trade so I could walk out in public.
You can't walk with proud with that on.
No, no.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful
Like,
jacket.
oh,
Shout out
thanks
to my
for
aunt.
this.
Thank you for
How
that.
did you know?
My grandmother actually got it for me. Yes, my grandma.
Oh my gosh. I wish I was there to see that. Oh my goodness. But this team, man, like I said, this team, they got a lot to do. Of course, even the comments after the game, DeForest Buckner shared his thoughts on the loss against the Giants, talk about how embarrassing it is and things of that nature. It's pretty much recycled comments year after year. It's the same thing. And pretty much Landon's thoughts as well. So the direction going into the Jacksonville game, even though we both know they're probably going to lose, but after all of this is said and done, the season's over, the sun has set. What is your thoughts of what the Colts should do after this?
Oh
What they
no,
should have done?
they'll win. They'll win this Jacksonville game because it'll mess up their draft pick. Yeah, it'll give them a worse pick. So they'll win this game for sure because that's what they do. As far as like what they should do moving forward, well, I mean, we had a pretty argumentative podcast about this a few weeks ago. My stance hasn't changed. It's been the same thing I've said since that podcast. Same thing I've said since 2022 is and until Chris Ballard is gone, this is what you get, right? This is what you get when you continuously pay players because they're your guys. Quotation marks, these are our guys. Whenever you pay players that continuously come up short in big moments and you reward them with contract extensions and reward them with raises, this is the result you get. And that's why we've seen the exact same result for years. And until the GM that does that is removed from the equation, and really, if it's up to me, I'm probably starting clean. I'm just wiping every remnant of that I can in 2025 off. Obviously, you can't completely reset everything in 2025, mainly due to contract and cap and stuff like that. There's guys that are on deals that were signed this off season that you're going to keep around. I mean, so it is what it is on that. But everything you can cut out, I think you should cut out. There's been talk, I saw today of maybe letting Shane Steichen pick a GM to work with. In a perfect world where that works, sure, I guess. In my opinion, I don't think he's done enough to warrant having that kind of power to pick his GM. I mean, you got to think this is a guy that now not just twice this season he has thrown his rookie quarterback. I don't want to say like under a bus, but I mean like that's what it's been. His comments to the media have portrayed his quarterback in a negative manner, and he's not making life easier on him in the eyes of those who cover the game and the eyes of fans, whenever you come out and say that he's dealing with soreness, he's not going to practice because he's sore. Um, that paints a negative light, especially after the tap out situation occurred. And then on top of the other injuries. And that's what gives like credence to people that think that he is, and I mean, I'm not even disagreeing with them at this point that he is injury prone. You see like the IR5 joke and the Tony Glass jokes, and you see all that stuff on the internet. And that's why people can say that kind of stuff, is because you come out and you say, oh, my quarterback's sore. He's not going to play in maybe one of the biggest games of the season. This is now 2 years in a row that you have chance, very albeit small chance this year. You still had a chance to make the playoffs, and your starting quarterback, the guy that you drafted to be your franchise guy, has been watching from the sidelines because he can't stay healthy. That's not good enough. And when your coach puts that kind of information out, if he would have come out and said it was back spasms and he couldn't even hardly stand and walk and all that kind of stuff, maybe it's a different tune. But your coach didn't do that. And then on top of that, you continuously see this team folding. And I'm not even really going to put that on Shane Steichen because this has now been multiple coaches with this roster, with this core, where this has happened to. Eventually, it's a player issue, and it's a guy who acquires those players. That's the issue. It's not necessarily the coach. But if we're just being honest, Shane Steichen has not done enough this year to warrant him picking his own general manager to work with. But if it means if that is the path to getting out of the Chris Ballard 8-year failure cycle, then I am willing to go that route. But yeah, I mean, if it's up to me, if I go on like what I think should happen, I think you clean house. I think you cut as much off as you can. Um, You let the new GM come in. That was something I never understood either. The whole like, well, they'll just reset in 2026 with a new GM. Do we really want the new GM? And like, this is something nobody's thought about really. The new GM, he brings with him a complete new staff, new scouts, new everything. It's a completely thing. Do we want that guy getting hired in March and drafting in April next year? No. I don't. I don't want him to be ill prepared. I would much rather have a new GM this year to evaluate what we have on the roster, then go into the 2026 draft, especially if you need a quarterback, because that draft is looking a lot stronger than this year's draft. If you need a quarterback, if Anthony Richardson proves next year that he is for sure not the guy, jury's still out. It's probably not likely. It's looking like it's not likely. But he can come out next year and prove everybody wrong. He still has the opportunity because there's not a better option out there. So I expect him to still be the quarterback next year, and I don't see a problem with that. You need to evaluate everything. If he proves he's the guy moving forward, great. You don't have to worry about it. If he's not, you have a new GM that now has a full year of scouting the 2026 class with his scouts that is able to attack the 2026 offseason and completely reset this team instead of him coming in on 30 days notice and having to do that quick. So that's just my opinion. That's what I thought should have happened a month ago. That's what I should have thought happened after 2022. That's what I think should happen now. My stance has not changed. It's interesting to see a lot of other people coming around to that stance now after I was completely bombarded, about 3 weeks ago. But yeah, it is what it is. So until you reset things, this is the result you're going to get.
I mean, you're literally the watcher when it comes to these situations. Like you've seen the future before it happens, but so many fans were so blind to actually see it.
It's
They had to live
it's
it.
not even about seeing the future. I mean, like there's that old saying, right? If you want to know the future, you study the past. And to me, I apply that in everything. Just everyday life, but especially when it comes to this team, is I've seen how this has played out ever since Philip Rivers walked out that door. Since the Arizona Cardinals game with Carson Wentz in 2021, I have seen how this team responds under pressure when they need a game. Every single year, I've seen it happen. So why would I think this year would be any different? I don't. And guess what? It wasn't. It's I mean, it at some point, you just got to take the rose-colored glasses or the horseshoe glasses off, or whatever you want to call them. You just got to take those glasses off and see this team for what
That
they.
blue jacket.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta see it for what they are, and it's a team that is under every circumstance they've crumbled, and that's what happened. And I don't know why people are surprised by that. It doesn't matter
Um,
who the coach is, doesn't matter
mhm.
who the quarterback is, doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is. None of that stuff matters.
Yeah. When you were talking about Shane Steichen, not fully putting blame on him, I agree 100%. I actually kind of feel bad for both of those guys. Both of those guys are pretty much still trying to learn how to lead because both of these guys, this is the fresh start for both of them, him and
And it's
Richardson.
not only that, but I made a comment earlier too about, I mean, like you have to understand, like really, like outside of like, obviously there's going to be change every year, right? We get that. But for the most part, this is the exact same core that Frank Reich had. Like this is Shane Steichen taking over the same core minus, obviously Frank Reich had like a fully healthy Shaq Leonard. That makes a huge difference. But this is Shane Steichen taking over basically the exact same roster and the exact same core that Frank Reich failed with. And now you've had multiple coaches fail with the same roster. It can't always be the coach. It can't. And we've heard the comments earlier. I've seen the stuff about like culture and accountability and all that stuff. Look, man, I'm just going to be honest with you. These are grown ass men making millions of dollars. Shane Steichen is like 2 years older than me. If you need somebody my age to tell you that you need to prepare better, or you need to practice harder, or you need to show up after you're making that much money, that's not a coaching issue. That's a personal issue. That's a player issue. These are grown men. Act like it. You don't need Shane Steichen's not a babysitter. He's a coach. He's there to help put you in a position to win, but it's up at the end of the day, it's up to the players to actually execute. And that's what the biggest problem is. The problem is not culture, it's not accountability. None of that matters. It's execution and it's talent. And that's why the Colts are losers, is because they don't have talent. They don't have competition because Chris Ballard has routinely ignored bringing in competition at key spots so he can reward his guys. We need to see the young guys play. We need to see these guys play. We need to know what these guys are. This is what happens when you get handed a job and you don't have to work for it and you don't have competition. This is what happens. Um, it's not Shane Steichen's job to babysit. If you're a grown man and you can't get up for a game against a 2-win team because that you have a chance to get into the playoffs and you're making millions of dollars, that's not a Shane Steichen problem. That's a you problem. That's a player problem. And that's what the biggest issue is with this team. Culture is culture is winning and losing. That's what it is. If you win ball games, guess what? You have a great culture. If you lose ball games, guess what? You got a bad culture. There's no difference. Sam Darnold, for example. I don't know if you saw that video of Sam Darnold celebrating and the team putting him on his
Yeah, he
back.
said
And
he didn't know what to do with his hands.
yeah, I mean, like that's the difference when you win ball games. People would say when Sam Darnold was with the Jets, that is a losing culture because they lost. They lost a lot of games. Sam Darnold goes to the Vikings, who win a lot of games. He's the exact same. I mean, he's the same guy. He's a better player, obviously, because he's with a better team. But he's the same guy, and that doesn't make him any less of a leader than he was in New York or than he was in San Francisco. He's still the same leader. He's just a leader on a winning ball club. And that's where now, it's like, oh, look at the Vikings culture. Yeah, they've won 14 games. Of course, everything looks good when you win. If they were 2-14 with this exact same team, that same culture they have in the building right now, it wouldn't matter.
It's amazing how these teams like the Vikings, for example, have different quarterbacks and still find a way to be successful. I think Darnold's like their third quarterback change over the multiple seasons. They had Kirk Cousins was winning games, Darnold, and and the Colts are just stuck in this carousel still, and we thought it was over. But I don't know. Like I said, if it was me, it's like spring cleaning almost. You see this time to clean up, you're just going to clean up. start fresh at this point because you're not getting better at this point. So I feel like a clean sweep just to start from scratch. We're already
And
miserable,
this
so it won't be
and this is
worse.
what they should have done in 2022. This
Right.
is what they should have done. Whenever you double down on more of the same and you allowed Chris Ballard to reset, you, like I said, how many quarterbacks have we changed? How many coaches have we changed? And it's the same result. And that's because unless you have just incredible, no pun intended, incredible luck, and you luck into a guy like a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck that can come in and single-handedly change your entire franchise with the accountability and what they bring from a leadership perspective as young players, as a young quarterback, you're not going that stuff's not going to change. And like unfortunately, Anthony Richardson was just too raw. Um, he's not there yet. He didn't have enough experience in college and all that kind of stuff to step into an organization where this is the norm and completely change that overnight. Um, and that's not his fault. That's just the way it is. Um, but there's the old saying, and that's why I think a clean sweep is needed. That if you're not part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. I don't know if you've heard that before, but
Yep.
yeah, I mean, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And right now, I think everybody in that building, um, even the owner, but you can't get rid of the owner, they're a part of the problem. And I'm just I'm done. Fans have been patient enough. This is the worst losing streak this team has had since the late 80s into the early 90s. You have a losing record as a GM the last eight seasons. A lot of that was carried by Andrew Luck, so it looks even worse if you take away the one season from Andrew Luck. Um, and and it is the same Andrew Luck that made Ryan Grigson look like a great GM too. So yeah, it's just not good enough. Fans have been patient enough. Don't let anybody tell you that you haven't been patient and you need to keep waiting. That's BS. That's BS. You've waited long enough. You're going into year 9. You need to see a winning product on the field. Now, I'll preface that by saying if you do a complete reset, it's going to be a struggle for maybe a year or two. But you're not – the goal is to not be stuck in this hamster wheel of 8-8 or 9-8 or 8-9. And, you don't – that's the worst place you can be as a franchise. That's the absolute worst because you don't have a good enough pick to land a true game changer at important positions, but you're not good enough to even make the playoffs. That's just not where you want to be. So yeah, I would trade a couple really bad years where we're probably picking in the top 5, top 3 even, than what we've been getting the last 4 years here. I would trade that in heartbeat.
And I would say, look at the window for the AFC South. Like, we know the Texans is pretty much going to win it. Now would be the time to, be aggressive, to figure out your process of what you want to do. Like you said, 2022 was the year to do it, but I feel like you still have the opportunity of that window to actually try to build something while you have the chance to do so before it gets rough.
Well, just look at the AFC South in general. You have since Chris Ballard was hired, the Texans have won it 3 times, the Titans have won it twice, and the Jaguars have won it twice.
When are you going to win it?
Yeah, that's all you really need to say is teams have they've won the division, completely bottomed out, rebuilt, and won the division again. Like, that has happened in the same tenure. You can't keep using Andrew Luck as an excuse. It's unfortunate, but it happened. And, at some point, that's what it is what it is, right? I know I called a lot of shit, excuse my language, but for pushing back on the idea that the process is what matters and not the results, that's BS. That's BS. The results matter. The results are the only thing that matter in the NFL. If you win football games, it doesn't matter what your process was to get there. You won. and that's what ultimately matters. This team has not won. Therefore, the process is bad. This isn't the Philadelphia 76ers. We don't trust the process. I trust the results. And right now, the results are telling me Chris Ballard ain't getting it done.
We gave up on that process a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, like, how much more of the process do we need to see here? That's not, I mean, cool. We run it back for 20, run it back again. That's, everybody team run it back. Great. So guess what? Next year, we're going to win 8 or 9 games, and we're going to miss the playoffs again.
Well, that depends on who's going to be on the roster. We like our guys, though, but we don't know who's going to be here. But like I said, it was a rough week to watch football. Honestly, I did not expect the Giants to put up 45 points. Like I said, shout out to Drew Lock and shout out to Jason Alexander-Pinnock from Pittsburgh, safety. He was flying all over the field. Like I said, when I was a Giants fan for like 5 minutes of watching the game, it was him. He was flying all over the field, just inspirational safety football. Besides Jonathan Taylor, who was the only hope I had in believing winning that game, and Alec Pierce. Like I said, I was rooting for the Giants, man. Even though the Giants fans wasn't rooting for them because they wanted a higher draft lottery pick. But I was rooting for the Giants because they was playing some good football, and it seemed exciting. The crowd was loving it, but yeah, Jason Alexander-Pinnock, man, he was playing some good football. Anybody from the Giants you seen playing?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of them came to play. They came to play, which is unfortunate for Giants fans. They came to play like they were the ones that had a playoff spot on the line. They showed up like they had a playoff spot on the line. And the team that actually had a playoff spot on the line played like they were competing for the number 1 overall pick.
It just shows you every team competes, no matter what the record is. A lot of people talk about,
these guys want to win.
Yeah, exactly. They go, they're tanking. No, they still want to win. They just suck.
They don't care about the process. Nobody in the NFL it's not a process. You want to win football games. And it doesn't matter if you're in the process for the number 1 pick. They're trying to win freaking football games, man.
Well, I can tell you something. Somebody in that New York Giants roster hit their incentives that game.
Yeah. I mean, they came out and punched the Colts in the mouth all day long. And this team folded like a lawn chair.
Man, that kick return.
What's even funnier, too, I don't know if you saw the video with, obviously the podcast.
Marlon Jackson?
No. About Zaire Franklin.
Oh,
on that podcast.
Yeah.
Saying that, he wants to get he doesn't want to play tough competition. He wants to get an easy team that he can smack around like the Giants.
That.
How embarrassing is that? How embarrassing.
You think they watched that video?
100%. 100% that was played in the room this week. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. And I was just waiting for Pat McAfee's tweet after that game because I knew he was going to drop an ether. I just knew it. And he was 100% right. I mean, if anybody knows, it'll be a former player to know like when a team is bad.
Well, it's not just McAfee that said all this stuff, right? And it's not just this week. There's been multiple former players and former coaches that have called out this team for the lack of effort, for quitting, for the tap out, for whatever.
Jeff Saturday, right?
Well, Jeff Saturday, Rex Ryan, Marlon Jackson, Chuck Pagano, Pat McAfee. I mean, and it's not just Colts. That's what I'm saying. It's not just Colts. Like Dan Orlovsky called some stuff out. There's been a lot of people that have called out a lot of the BS that this team has done, and they've done nothing but prove those people right, which sucks. Even me, like I've told you multiple times, the ideal situation for me is for me to be wrong about this team. I want to be wrong about this team, but they keep proving me right, and that sucks. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to sit up here and have these conversations every year. It would be so much more fun for me to cover a winning team with, that is locked up the postseason in Houston? What was it, like week 15? They won the division, or week 14 or something like that. I would love to be talking about the Colts locking up the division 2 or 3 weeks before the season ends. That would be so much more fun than having to come on here every week and deal with this crap.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's just been rough for Colts fans, even people that cover this team, to try to keep a brave face and try to go every week, even though you know what the outcome may be. It sucks. It really does.
I mean, and it's not even that's what's so funny about this game too, is because it got picked up like this type of failure, it got picked up by like national news out like Fox News, NBC News, like all these national news outlets that really, you know, don't mention anything about anything cults or anything related. You are now the laughing stock. You are a laughing stock. Uh,
Again,
again, yeah. This goes to me. This is up there with the Clown Town 2021 Jaguars game. That's where this game goes for me. It is in maybe not quite that bad, but it's up there. Um, it's embarrassing for fans. It's embarrassing for former players. Um, that's why you have so many former players speaking out against this because they set a standard of winning in this organization. They bled and they sweat and they cried and they did everything they could to build this organization into one of the most successful organizations in this century. And they're seeing it all just pissed away by people that act like they don't care about winning football games that continually no show in big moments. And that's unfortunate. That's just where
yeah,
we're at.
I agree, man. And a lot of those players, man, put their bodies on the line to make sure we can try to be something to root for.
Yeah, I mean, you saw T.Y. Hilton respond to the tweet. You've seen
Yep.
Robert Mathis respond to the tweet. These are like all-time franchise great players for this franchise.
NFL players too, great,
Yeah,
like Hall of Famers.
yeah. J.J. Watt responded to this. I mean, you have had multiple players that have called out the shenanigans that are going on. And like I said, I don't think there's any argument anymore. And I'm proud of people finally coming around, even if it's a few weeks late. I'm proud of people coming around and finally seeing what I've been saying now for quite a while, and that's just you can't continue on the track you're on. There's got to be some major changes, and it starts at the top.
I agree. I agree. Well, all I can say is that we just wait for this presser, then give our thoughts. Hopefully, something changes from there. If not, I'll be um, I'll be grabbing me a nice.
Oh, no, yeah, if nothing changes, you're about to see me in rare form on this show. You think I'm yeah. I don't think y'all have ever seen me actually angry about something like this. Like I'm not even mad about this game, right? This is I expected this. I expected this. So I'm not even mad about it because I knew it was coming.
Just
Right?
laugh it off for
Whether it was
now.
this week or next week, I knew the collapse was coming.
Yep.
Um, yeah, if nothing changes and they decide to run it back with the same stuff next year, you're gonna see me angry, like actually angry. Um,
You can at
and
least go to training camp.
I don't think they'll let me in. I don't think they'll let me in the building. They'll probably put
Get
a
that crazy fat off the field. Do your job.
oh yeah, yeah, that's ah, yeah, not good, not good.
You gotta show Richardson where to put his hands to place the football. You put it right here at the top. Flick it.
I think he knows how to. He got a little bit. He's a little bit better than I am,
Yeah.
just a little, right?
This team just makes me laugh at the end of the day. But again, we appreciate you guys for tuning in to get this recap off of this game. We'll be back with the preview of the Colts and the Jaguars, which is the best game
Which
to
doesn't
preview.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, what are we playing for?
Yeah, this game doesn't matter.
Pride? Playing for pride.
No, this
I'm leaving here with something.
This team had a chance to play for pride. They that ship sailed. And what's crazy is if you would have beat the Jaguars and the Giants, that is it. If you would have beat the Jaguars and the Giants, they would be leading the AFC. They would be AFC South champions right now.
Yep.
Here we go again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because there was a while ago when I was when the Colts won one game, and I was like, well, the Texans are losing, so there's still a chance. And Atlanta was like, there's not a chance. And then the Texans kept losing. I was talking to myself, I'm like, what? There's still a chance. There's not a chance. And now the chance is gone.
There's not a chance. There was never a chance. There was never a chance. I mean, like they were technically there was, right? And like that every time I put out one of the tweets about like these are the playoff scenarios, I was kind of doing it like a tongue in cheek where it's like, yeah, technically these are the playoff scenarios. But if you listen to the show, you knew. And like if you really like, I don't want to say even just listen to me, but if you listen, if you just looked back, right, and you should have known what was going to happen. And a lot of fans did. It's not just me. I mean, there's a lot of people that knew this was going to happen. And that's unfortunate. That's where the fan base is at. It's apathetic now. It's not, I don't even think fans are like, well, I'm not gonna say they're not angry. There's a lot of angry people, but there's a lot of people that have been pushed into a lot of like apathetic when it comes to this team. They just don't care. They don't care about like you think anybody cares about the Jacksonville game next week? No. Nobody cares about it.
You think anybody's gonna show up?
No.
Probably gonna protest.
Well, even this week, like I had a friend text me about the game. Well, not this week because obviously they were in New York, but the game before the Titans game. He said there were people outside. I mean, it was like $10 a ticket, $5 a ticket, $10 a ticket, and they still could not fill that stadium up. Like people just don't care because they don't want to watch this product, and I don't blame them. I don't want to watch it either, but I do it for y'all. I got to.
Y'all should be thankful like I am. I appreciate you. I got to drag him to the camera. Y'all don't see it, but I'm like grabbing him by his feet just to sit in that chair and look at this camera and put on a smile and try to be positive. But the Colts make him the way he is today. So it's not my fault. It's the Colts.
They do. And see, and that's why like I don't want to keep on the soapbox because look, it's my anniversary. We're about to go to a nice steakhouse. They're not going to ruin another night for me. They've ruined enough.
I'm trying to get you out of here.
Yeah, they're not going to ruin.
Yes. Well, we'll be back. But we appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. Happy New Year's again. You guys stay safe. Be responsible. And like I said, once again, stay safe, but enjoy the holiday, man. Enjoy the New Year's. Find a resolution. Definitely Uber if you have to. If you're out and about, definitely Uber. But find a resolution. Let me know what your resolution is in the comment section. And we'll be back in New Year's with a new mindset. That is Landon. Wish him a happy anniversary as well. This is Marcus. And until next time, we will see you guys. As always, go Colts.